Lupin, 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 Lupin the Vlog, Part 1. One Chance for a Prison Break is the fourth episode of the classic Lupin the Third series Part 1 Green Jacket era. This episode, I feel, is a lot more of a psychological or mental type episode because it really gets you to think about the characters, specifically the dynamic between Zenigata and Lupin. Lupin and the gang are in a heist mode, trying to steal some sort of treasure box. We don't know what for or what it is. We just see it happen. But what does happen is that Lupin gets captured in the middle of the heist and is taken to a state-of-the-art prison where it's almost impossible for any prisoner to escape. Before we move on, I do like to say that this episode 4 does feel like it is a bit of the transition between Masaki to Miyazaki and Takahata, in that the opening intro isn't the classic Lupin the Third song that we hear, the Lupin, 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 Lupin the Third. Instead, what they have is type of a short recap of what Lupin and the gang is, using a lot of stock footage from the Lupin pilot, so much so that the creators forgot to color in Lupin's suit green instead of red. So we have the red suit Lupin shown off in the opening credits, and they do another thing in introducing Goemon before his premiere episode, which is going to be the next one after this one. That's just sloppiness right there, I tell ya. What is odd though is that Lupin's suit is red throughout this new opening until the very end where they switch it back to green. It's like, oh, just forget that you saw the red. It's green. It's green, see? See? Cutting corners. So Lupin is captured, and immediately when he's put in the cell, he starts screaming out, "I'm not Lupin! The guy right behind you! He's the real Lupin! I'm just an innocent officer! I was tricked, I tell ya! I was framed!" And he repeats this all throughout an entire year, until the next spring. He refuses to have any shave, and he refuses to admit that he's Lupin. And this is driving Zenigata off the wall nuts. Even though he doesn't show it, Zenigata is almost hoping that Lupin will get out of his predicament. In fact, one officer at a point even commented on that, and Zenigata just brushed it off like, "No, what are you talking about? He deserves the death penalty." All while this is happening, Fujiko is trying everything in the goddamn book to try to get him out of prison. Grappling hook, digging under the prison, helicopter, and every single time Jigen is there to shoot her down. Like literally, even in the helicopter, he takes like an assault rifle or some anti-aircraft gun, shoots her down, doesn't even care if the bitch lives. He's just said, nah, if Lupin wanted to escape, he could have escaped a long time ago. And it's kind of a combination of, yes, she is worried about Lupin, but in the same instance, she keeps saying like, but Lupin has the key to the treasure. How are we gonna get into it without the key? Lockpick it, you know? That's just an excuse. She cares. I know she cares. So it gets down to literally 20 minutes before his execution. Jigen even comes by to hand him a gun so that he can escape more easily, but Lupin refuses. In the very last minute, he asks for a shave, even though he was able to grow out one of his nails so long that it became a razor, I guess? That you can do that with nails? I mean, the thing is so sharp he's able to shave himself with just his finger. He can even tear through his straitjacket with the little shiv of a fingernail. Lupin switches with the guy that was gonna do the shave for him, and the guy naturally says, "I'm not Lupin, he's Lupin, it's a trick!" But Lupin has been saying this the entire year he's been in there. Now, I think this would have been a nice little touch if only we didn't see him interact with Jigen before. I know it was kind of nice to have that little moment with Jigen there, but it kind of ruined the facade. Like, if you could make the audience feel like, wait, what if what if this isn't Lupin? What if he is, like, hiding somewhere? And if he is, like, what is he doing? It's been a whole year, but no, wait, no, that is Lupin. He was in the jail the entire time. So you might be asking yourself, if Lupin could have escaped from that prison this whole time, then what was he doing? Well, you see, during the heist that happened at the beginning of the episode, Zenigata was able to get the jump on him. So much so that it hurt Lupin in his pride. That Zenigata was able to kill him at that one instant, but instead of shooting him with bullets, he shot him with tranquilizer darts. So Lupin wanted to get revenge on Zenigata, humiliate him the same way that he humiliated him, by escaping at the very last minute before his execution. And so he manages to get out in time. Zenigata was a real show in this episode. We get to see a lot more of his thought process to how he views Lupin. He feels that he's a menace that deserves the death penalty, but at the same time, he thinks, if he gets out, wouldn't be so bad. He's a nice guy. Zenigata is pulling in that line of his sense of duty towards this, but then again, he's been chasing Lupin for so many years now at this point in the anime that he doesn't know what he's going to do with himself afterwards. In later episodes, Zenigata has talked about how he'll write a book of his memoirs, or how he'll try to settle down with a nice wife. But this Zenigata in the first series doesn't know what he's going to do with himself yet. Lupin meets up again with Jigen to go back to retrieve the treasure that Jigen hid. Unfortunately, he hid it in a forest that got deforested for a dynamite testing facility, I guess. And the whole place blows up along with the treasure. And the episode ends with Lupin and Jigen running off into the sunset, laughing like idiots. This one is a pretty good episode. It does really feel a bit of a transition from Masaki to Miyazaki and Takahata, in that this is the first episode where Fujiko hasn't been captured and tortured. In fact, all this time, Fujiko's trying to get Lupin out of prison, but Jigen keeps on stopping us and like, no, he'll get out when he wants to. I wouldn't say this has been the best episode so far. It is a good episode, but I wouldn't call it one of the better episodes. I mean, you can only do so much with an episode that doesn't have any heists or any action sequences. I mean, there are a lot of episodes like that and movies like that in the Lupin the Third series, and this one does a fairly good job. I will say this for the episode, it is the most cohesive out of the episodes that we have seen so far. Like, the first three were good, except for the third one, but that's a total another thing in a half shell. It's the first one that felt like a solid narrative. Like, there was a beginning, middle, and an end, and we went through it without too many jump cuts or, like, questions raised type of thing. It was a straightforward Lupin episode, and it's great for that regard. That's all I have for today, folks. Make sure to check me out on YouTube and Dailymotion, where I post up new videos every Monday. I also have a Twitter account where I post up MangaMan updates now, so check that out if you want to check out when one of your favorite reviews is going to be coming out soon. And as always, this is the MangaMan, signing off.